You're listening to Simply the Best Sports Take, the best podcast breaking down the best stuff in sports with host Sean Bingham. His takes are so good, he dropped the mic, but then you wouldn't be able to hear him, and that would suck.
Welcome into Simply the Best Sports Podcast. I am your host, Sean Bingham, still here in lovely Hawaii, and got a great podcast. It's a Saturday. It's a Saturday at 11 o'clock a.m. here in Hawaii. So that means it is, what does that make it? 4 o'clock p.m. on the East Coast. A little bit later here, a little bit later start, I should say, to the podcast. But I do have some good stuff I wanted to talk about. Obviously, today is a huge day in college football. But before we even get into what's happened and what may happen today, number 9 Washington went down last night to Stanford. So the Pac-12 is out. The Pac-12 is absolutely not getting into the college football playoffs. Washington was their greatest hope. They were a long shot anyway. But if they were to win out, Washington would have been a real viable candidate. But they just lost to Stanford. I think they're going to probably lose again. Every team in the Pac-12 has 2 losses. And so I just don't see the Pac-12 getting in. Even if they get a ton of help and a lot of other conferences start to beat each other up and you don't have any unbeatens and it looks like there's a 2-loss team likely to get in as one of the 4. I think an Ohio State, would or a Penn State, these other teams that are just viewed as better and are better, are the more likely scenario. So I think the Pac-12 is completely done. They're cooked. It's over. Speaking of Ohio State, they absolutely destroyed Michigan State today. And Urban Meyer knows that his team's only shot at getting, his team's only shot at getting into the college football playoffs is if they can go and just have super convincing wins for the rest of the season, including the Big Ten championship game, which will be against Wisconsin. Because it happened to them before. The last time they won the national championship, they just had these super convincing wins down the stretch, and the committee was like, ugh. We can't possibly leave these guys out there just destroying, top 10 opponents, top 15 opponents. We have to put them in. I mean, look how well they're playing right now. They look at their schedule, look at their record. I mean, yeah, they've got 2 losses, but man, look at this. And they're taking that same approach. You can feel it. He's done it before. You can feel that it's going on. So they played Michigan State today. I think the game just went final. It did. It was number 12 Michigan State versus number 13 Ohio State. The final score, 48-3. Ohio State wins 48-3. Super convincing. And I'll tell you what, if they get a bunch of help, if there's no unbeatens left at the end of the year, and they're looking for a 2-loss team, Ohio State's going to be at the top of that list. I can guarantee you that. So, very interesting thing in college football. Again, it's a long shot, but it's their only shot, and it is possible. I think that the Buckeyes will win the Pac-12, the Big Ten. I've been saying that all along. I think that'll still happen, and maybe they get into the college football playoffs with some help. They need a lot. Notre Dame and Miami are today. Catholics versus convicts. I'm taking Notre Dame, the Fighting Irish. I think they're the real deal this year. They have historically not been. They've historically been kind of more the posers, the pretenders, the team with the big name and the big tradition, and therefore the high rating, and they're consistently overrated. I think this year is a little bit different. I think they win today. I think they finish the season unbeaten. I think they get into the college football playoffs. I think they lose in the first round of the college football playoffs, but I think they get there. That should be interesting. TCU versus Oklahoma is today. A Big 12 showdown. TCU, Oklahoma, great matchup. I'm taking the Sooners. I think they're a really, really good team. Baker Mayfield, they've got they just seem to have it going on this year. I'm taking the Sooners. I also think they get into the college football playoffs. So a lot of interesting stuff in college football. Some scores that are going on right now. I'm just looking real quick at the update. Nothing too crazy. Penn State won big. Just making sure I didn't miss anything. Virginia Tech lost. That's kind of interesting. Virginia Tech was ranked 17th, kind of viewed as a really good team out of the ACC. They lost to Georgia Tech, so they'll probably fall out of the top 25 altogether. Alabama plays Mississippi State here in a little bit, a couple hours. That's a big game. I think Alabama wins that one pretty easily. It's kind of funny. Alabama is playing on the road against the number 16 team in the country, and they're favored by 14. That's how good the Crimson Tide are. It's unreal. There is another good matchup. Iowa and Wisconsin. I didn't even mention that one. That's a really big matchup. Iowa-Wisconsin. Iowa's up 7-3. Anyway, Georgia-Auburn, number 1 versus number 10. Great matchups. I think Georgia wins that game. I think Wisconsin ends up winning this game. But anyway, enough about college football. To the NBA. The Celtics are now winners of 11 in a row. They won last night without Kyrie Irving. He played just 2 minutes, got hit in the face, and had to sit out the rest of the game. He'll be fine. But this Celtics team, they are young, and they are good, and they are deep. I mean, they're playing 10, 11, 12 guys, and they all look pretty good. I mean, they don't have big names. They lost Gordon Hayward for the season, but it makes you wonder, could Gordon Hayward come back? Will they win the East, be the number 1 seed, and get him to come back for maybe the last 3-4 games of the season, and then into the playoffs? They kind of ease him in through the first round. Very limited minutes, and then by the time the Eastern Conference Finals showdown comes with LeBron and the Cavs, that won't be till May, they have a chance then to go and do some serious damage. So the chances of him coming back are probably like 10%. So it's not very likely, but what if? What if he did? What if he does come back? What if the Celtics think, you know what, we can win an NBA title this year with Gordon Hayward? What if somebody on the Warriors gets hurt and the Warriors aren't so invincible anymore? The Cavs clearly, are very beatable. That's been proven already. The Celtics are the young team. They're deep, they're talented, they're confident, they're cocky. They've got arguably the greatest closer in the game in Kyrie Irving. Maybe they're like, you know what? Gordon Hayward's fine. He's been running around. He's been shooting around. He hasn't right now. He did shed his cast, by the way. The hard cast was shed, when was that? November 1st. So it's been almost 2 weeks. I mean, maybe, I don't know. I mean, you never know. But maybe they make it happen. They have until March 12th to decide. The Celtics do. They were granted the disabled player exception. So they have 4 more months to decide. And at that point, you got to wonder if Gordon Hayward has been jogging around, doing basic drills, doing shoot-arounds, things like that. If he's kind of at that point at March 12th, you got to think maybe they'll say, you know what? We want him for the playoff run. We want that camaraderie. We want him, even if it's on a limited minute basis, even if it's as a decoy to start. They're not going to rush it. Obviously, that would be really stupid to rush it because they're going to be good for several years to come. But playoffs don't start till April 14th, and the finals go into June. They won't really be challenged until the Eastern Conference Finals in May. So that gives them 6-7 months still. That's a long time for a guy to heal up who's not even in a hard cast anymore. So we'll see. We'll see. That's all I've got for you today, though. Have a fantastic Saturday. Really excited to see what happens here over the next few hours with college football. And, of course, tomorrow is NFL Day. Booyah. That's it, though. I'm out. Peace.
Thanks for hanging with Simply the Best Sports Take. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast and check out stbsportstake.com. Simply the best in sports. 'Cause we are